And now we're ready to begin animating for our first warm-up lesson. So as stated before in the last lesson, we're going to be working on the extremes. The extreme poses first for our character's head turns, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the in-between poses afterwards. So let's again take a look at our end result of the first warm-up lesson to see what we're trying to achieve, what those extreme poses will be. Okay, so here's our second extreme pose. And our first one is on the first frame here. That's our first. So our second is when our character is turned to his right. Then we'll hit play. And there's our next extreme pose where our character is looking towards his left now. And our last extreme pose is where our character is looking right back at us. So that's what we're going to work on. We can go ahead and minimize this now. And we'll select the head control. And with it selected, let's go ahead and key the translate and rotate channels. And we can do that by hitting Shift W and Shift E, and that'll key, the Shift W will key the translates, and Shift E will key all of our rotate channels. Okay, so now auto key will also take into effect. So if we go to any frame, like frame 16 for example, and we translate the head and then rotate it, here's what we get. Okay, so now auto key is taken into effect. Those values are now stored on frame 16. But I'm just going to delete that key. I just wanted to show you auto keys taken into effect now. Okay, now we can start posing. And when wanting to figure out certain timing, like how to figure out the certain timing of these head turns or whatever you're animating, I definitely recommend to use live reference. Get up and act out a certain action, or find some reference footage that you can use to help you to figure out how your character should move, whether biped or quadruped, doesn't matter. But the reference footage will help, so I do again recommend it. So for keying, let's go to about frame 19 and we'll put in our second extreme pose. So we'll rotate our character's head more to his right, like so. Now we'll move on to our next pose. We can put that next pose on frame 60, and we'll rotate our character's head in the opposite direction, like that. And our last extreme pose, let's put that on frame 106, and we'll have our character look more to us, but not as much. We won't rotate his head to his right as much as we did before. Okay, so that'll be fine. Alright, so once we've had these extreme poses placed, what we can do now is a play blast to see the timing. Okay, and the play blast will help us to see more accurately how our animation is moving. So we definitely want to do those play blasts. We don't want to rely on how our animation is looking in our workspace, okay, all the time. So let's now hide our NURBS curve so we could just focus on our character's head. Just focus on that movement. And we'll go to Window. Let's go to the Play Blast options, and I'm just going to reset them to their default so we can go down the list and make some changes. So for the time range, that's fine. We can leave that at time slider. Let's check off Show Ornament, and that'll hide things like the camera name or this ornament at the corner. Okay, so we could just focus on our character's face, the movement that we've just made. And for the viewer, let's go ahead and check on Image Viewer so we can be able to play blast with F-check and view frame by frame, as well as draw on the F-check, as we'll see a little bit later on. We can leave the display size from window, that's fine. Scale, let's bring that up to 1 so we can see a wider view of our animation. For save to file, you can save your play blast if you like, but I'm not going to do that. And we'll hit play blast. And while this play blast is rendering, this is a great time to view the animation while it's playing back slow, because then you get to see any corrections you may need to make in your animation. Okay, so we do want to spend this time to review our animation while the play blast is rendering, and it's just about done. Here it is. Okay, so this animation is definitely not looking like we want it to yet. It is coming along. We have made good progress. We've put in our extreme poses. Okay, but we've got more work to do. The head movements are too linear and they're just flowing back and forth. So we've got some more tweaks to do, but we have again made good progress. So we can now stop this, And that completes our extreme poses. So what we can now do is move on to the next lesson where we'll start putting in the in-between poses and get these head turns looking more natural, more believable, which is what we want to aim for.